It was right around the 42-second mark when Wolverine shoves his claws in this guy's head and we see the brain matter exploding out of his eye sockets. Yeah, that was the point when I said, Insomniac, okay, you have my money. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. So the Wolverine video game trailer just came out yesterday, and man, oh man, was this thing badass. This game looks dope, and the reaction to it has been insane. Wolverine was the #2 trending thing on X yesterday, and this particular trailer has over 5 million views, making it one of the most viewed trending things on YouTube. As we do here on the channel, we have to talk about these cultural things as they relate to the comic book market. And as you guys have heard me time and time again, I always say that video games are the things that we really need to be paying attention to when it comes to the next generation of collector. And I know what you're thinking, viewer. You're thinking to yourselves, Swag, you don't know what you're talking about. Marvel is dead. Comic books are dead. People don't like this stuff. Video games will never move the market. Oh yeah, viewer? Well, what if I told you as a result of this trailer, Hulk 181 has now sold 1 million times? I mean, that would be pretty exciting news if that actually happened. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, but this trailer did make me think about some other interesting books in the comic book market that might be related to it. And in this video, we're going to talk about them. But of course, before I get into it, if you guys would like, comment, subscribe, I appreciate it. Helps support the channel doing those things. But there you guys see it. Now, I don't know if you guys happen to have seen this trailer for the Wolverine video game. I'm not going to play it because I don't know if I actually am allowed to play it here, based on copyright restrictions. But the Wolverine Insomniac Marvel video game universe just dropped their next installments. And if you guys don't know, this is actually a shared gaming universe to that of the Spider-Man and Miles Morales games. And I do believe that the plan long-term for Insomniac was to kind of do one giant collected storyline, which sounds super ambitious, but man, if they can pull it off, I mean, the video game thing could be more influential for the comic book pop cultural market than even that of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And it made me think, is this going to be the game that starts to turn around things for comic books like Hulk 181? We had 1 or 2 copies sell on the secondary market, which again is probably like it would have done anyways if there wasn't a drop for the trailer. So we can't quite say that there's any correlation to, a video game and the hype for Wolverine and values in the secondary market. But one of the cool things about this trailer is that we actually got a couple surprise reveals of characters that are going to be involved in the game, notably Omega Red that we see right here, and another one for the character Mystique, which made me want to check in on some of these books on the secondary market because it's been a little while since we spoke about Ms. Marvel #18. Of course, we know this one as the first full appearance of the character of Mystique. I mean, Mystique is one of those characters that has a lot of like cameos and things like that. And unfortunately, she's not on the cover of this book. So that's always going to hurt, the collectability of a book like this. But at the same time, I thought it would be interesting to kind of talk about this one. It's actually a good example of a book that at times in its past was actually more valuable than it was today, even pre-COVID comic book boom, all the way back in August of 2014, when we had the X-Men movies going on. You could see the sold price of $1,250 for a 9.8, which was a value from 10 years ago that was actually higher than what the book is currently valued at today. I mean, other similar books that kind of have followed a trajectory like this are Iron Man #55, first appearance of Thanos, some other of the villain books. Because the problem, generally speaking, with a lot of these types of books is that, out of sight, out of mind. If they're not involved in culture, then there's going to be no demand. But because it seems like Mystique is going to play a role in this, it does sort of make you wonder, maybe this is going to be the thing that is going to give this book finally, a little bit of a shot in the arm, a little bit of, hey, remember this character? Maybe it's time to add her back to the collection. And if you go over to sold items here, you can see how much this book has really fallen off the map. I mean, this used to be a bona fide key. This used to be something that people used to love to collect. And in a lot of ways, it felt like Mystique was one of the more flagship characters. But, based on recent sales, that really hasn't been the case. And actually, it's kind of funny here. I feel like this is a little bit of a sidebar, but Go Collect actually put a lot of these red flags on the some of these recent sales, especially the ones that came out of Heritage, where they had this to say, this sale has been flagged as an outlier, a sale that is either significantly higher or lower than other recent sales in the same condition. Go Collect will not use the sale in valuations. And I thought that was funny because, this being a Heritage auction sale is absolutely legitimate, and it's selling for $690, I guess was too low for Go Collect to want to count this thing, because the most recent sale that they actually count was a sale that came in February of this year where the book was $1,045. I guess they're unwilling to say that a book has dropped that much in value that it's selling at this $600 price point, which to me, I think is silly. I think that that type of level of curation shouldn't be done. I mean, if you go over to GPA actually did record some of these lower sales where we do see the 690 low. This is the one right here. And so I think that's weird that they decided to not count that one, because I actually think it's a good example of how much this book has fallen off. And it makes you sort of wonder, like, I mean, I know we say it all the time, is now the time to buy? And I'm always kind of memeing when I say that. But honestly, is now the time to buy? Are we going to be in a place where this game comes out in fall of 2026, which frankly, that's kind of a long time from now. I don't know why they drop these trailers a year from now. Like, people are going to forget about this thing again. But when this game comes out in fall of 2026, and then we have the Avengers Doomsday movie, and we get Rebecca Romijn Stamos back in the action, and she's going to be making an appearance, are people going to want to pick up this book again? Hell no, swag comic books are dead. All right, you may be right, but I'm just saying, I'm throwing it out there. We're having the conversation. Similarly, what about this book? Made me think about X-Men #4, first appearance of Omega Red. I gotta admit, guys, this one might be tough. This is a book that was printed up the wazoo. Everybody was specking on this thing, and there are constantly copies coming to market, constantly copies, being pulled out of comic book collections. I mean, every single 90s comic book kid had this in their collection. So I don't know if it actually is going to ever be a thing where it gets to the prices that it was once selling for. But at the same time, hey, off the game trailer, we got a $110 sale, which, to put that into perspective, this is a book that hasn't seen a three-figure sale in a long, long time, at least a few months or so. So maybe we can say that, a little bit of video game hype is going to turn these things around. Of course, this is a book that was selling around $80 right there, 71, 70, 80. There's this 175, but there's 2 books in that one. And then this one, $51, a 9/8 of this, selling for $51, basically the price of the slab and the shipping, which is a far cry from where it was back in 2021 when it was selling for $350. Remember when everyone thought that Omega Red was going to be showing up in the Falcon and Winter Soldier show? Remember those days? Everybody was so hyped on buying the first appearance of the Madripoor book, which actually, based on this video game, looks like we're going back to Madripoor. I'll tell you this much. I'm more convinced that this game has a better chance to make Madripoor a thing, which, frankly, Madripoor, I'm sorry, guys, it's never going to be a thing. But I would rather bet on this game making Madripoor potentially be a thing than I ever would have bet Falcon and Winter Soldier making Madripoor a thing, which I guess brings me back to the whole point of the video and just talking about the effect of video games on the comic book market and the secondary market. I mean, I do believe that these are the things that are going to get Gen Zs potentially into comic book collecting. I mean, maybe they're never going to do it. I know a lot of people think that they'll never get into comics, and that could very well be true. But if they do, then it's certainly going to be because of the video games and not because of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This Marvel Cinematic Universe was for millennials and Gen X. Okay, video games are for Gen Z and Gen Alpha. And Marvel Rivals to this day is still driving the market. I mean, I checked in with the values of Jeff the Landshark, the first appearance of his, West Coast Avengers #7. It's still selling pretty darn well. Like, it's kind of crazy, because I remember when we were talking about the Marvel Rivals books and everybody was like, oh, this book is dead spec. It's going to go back down to $1. It's going to be a $1 bin book, by next week. And that's not the case. Like, that book has been able to sustain its value better than any other book related to any other DC or Marvel movie that recently got hot. I mean, the impact of the Marvel Rivals game to the value of that book at this point is undeniable. And I think that that's because, video games are now playing a stronger cultural role into our pop cultural love. So anyways, that's all for this video. That was me talking about, this new trailer for the Wolverine video game. Felt like it was good to sort of talk about it. Key Collector put out a little notification on it saying that, Wolverine is back, and we could be getting a lot of interesting movement for Wolverine comic books in the near future. I mean, I don't know if this is going to be turning the tide for Hulk 181 as it continues to be on the downtrend. But like I've said, with all of the other factors like, the macro economy and looking at the comic book index and, lower interest rate environments and the cultural touch points and all this stuff, I do believe that the stars are really starting to align, that when we get to next year, when we have quantitative easing, when we have Avengers Doomsday, when games like this Wolverine one actually come out, and by the way, Marvel Rivals still trucking along, when we have those things all kind of having, congruence and hitting together, that could finally be, unironically, when comic books turn the corner. Or maybe not. Maybe we're all doomed and everything's going to zero. Anyways, that's all for this video. That was me talking about this new trailer, Marvel's Wolverine, the gameplay trailer drop. Honestly, this game looks badass. I am definitely going to pick it up, and I'm definitely going to play it. I really enjoyed the Spider-Man video game when it came out. I actually didn't play the second one with Miles Morales and Venom. I probably should play that. Maybe I will play it before this game actually drops. I mean, I certainly have a long time. A year is way too early to be dropping these types of trailers, but I kind of get it. I understand it. I work in the gaming world, so I understand, the whole pipeline to the marketing aspect. But man, this game looks pretty awesome, and I think it's going to be pretty successful. What did you guys think about this trailer? Sorry to y'all who are not into the video game thing. I definitely am, and anytime I can talk about this stuff, I'm going to do it. And you guys are going to continue to tell me I'm wrong, and then I'm going to continue to say, I told you so. Anyways, that's all for this one. Thanks so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. See y'all in the next video.